Critical Role. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's had a brilliant effect, a negative effect, and everything in between effect. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, my name is William James. I'm the host of the Board Book Geek. All of my links and info are down below. I've also attempted to record this video 6 times and have been interrupted each bloody time. Hello. Now, what is Critical Role? Critical Role is one of the, if not the biggest, D&D tabletop gaming things on the internet right now. It's been going for a few years. It's well acted, well presented. I love the casting. I think it's done a lot of good. It's great fun, and I genuinely enjoy it. I do hate breaks from it because I do need it in small doses. Sometimes I never put an episode on and play it from start to finish, but that's just how my brain works, to be honest with you. Let's be real, my brain, I have squirrels sometimes. And I also love, and I know this is just a tangent, but I also love LA by Night and New York by Night. Although I do miss classic Vampire the Masquerade. I adored that game. I really did, and I do miss it. Like, no one plays it in anywhere that I know of, and I've not found anything online, really. The positive and negative effects of Critical Role are very intertwined, to the point that there are two that just scream at me whenever I see this come up online. I've gone through a lot of Reddit posts, I've gone through a lot of internet stuff, I've talked to people, I've been researching this video for a good few weeks at this point, and I've kind of boiled it down to the two biggest things that it's done. There are lots of little things, but these two biggies stick out. So, first things first, expectations. A lot of new players come in. They expect Matt Mercer. They expect beautiful staging and figures and battlefields. And this isn't everyone, by the way, but it is definitely a subset of it. And they expect a professional level type game. And a lot of them just want to emulate Critical Role rather than playing their own game, which is a shame. They also expect the DM to be Matt Mercer. They expect that level. And not all D&D games are like that. Not everyone's role-playing and having fun. They're playing a tabletop game like you would play Monopoly. It's just the nature of it. You're not always going to have miniatures and beautiful sets because a lot of that stuff is very expensive. But a lot of people just play with graph paper, a couple of Sharpies, some dice, and an app on their phone. I'm not kidding. It's a thing. You can get free dice app and it's amazing and very useful, by the way. Although I own about 300 pairs of sets of dice at this point. Those expectations have killed many games, and looking online and speaking to people, you see that I've been told some stories which are downright funny, but also stories that made me burst out laughing because it seems so ridiculous. Like, people have quit groups because it's not that level, and there have been people that have given up on D&D because they haven't found Matt Mercer clone to do it all, and they just want that. And you see those complaints online and through other players, and it's sad, really, because they're so hung up on wanting that experience that it won't ever happen, because it will never be that experience. Every experience is unique. Bringing people into the game. This is something Critical Role, I think, are both big positive and a big negative. It's brought in people. New players, new blood. It's put it into public consciousness, and it's got people talking about it again, which I think is a brilliant thing. And having new blood and players in any game is a good sign, despite my feelings about 1D&D, but that's a whole different video which is coming up pretty soon. This new blood has been amazing, but there is a counterpoint to this. It's brought in the Tumblr crowd. It's brought in the kind of, and I hate this phrase, but the SJW set of the internet into a game that does have a lot of, air quotes, what they perceive, I should say, as problematic elements, which it really doesn't. They just want to change things to fit their modern political view, and that's all they're really concerned about. They more want to live out a political fantasy, and a fantasy of revenge of the nerds, or just this. I mean, there have been horror stories. There was one girl in a group quite local to me that was wanting to live out her furry communism fantasy, and that was just yikes. she actually got kicked out the group because she started screaming at people. It was kind of embarrassing. This idea that new players can come in, gatekeep the old players out, get things changed to suit their air quotes modern tastes, and strip back the air quotes problematic lore is ridiculous. And I think they've been very derogatory to the game. And I mean, and I'm going to say this, and I've said this many times: orcs are not black people. It's just a thing. They are not interlinked. There isn't. If you see yourself in something negative within a universe or a franchise, that is about you as a person. And there is actually some great psychological studies on that, which you might be interested in reading. But ultimately, these new players have been the biggest mixed bag. They want this kind of their own world reflected back at them in something that's fantasy. I mean, another friend of mine has a story where this person was offended that they were looting tombs of dead warriors. It's fantasy. It's fantasy. That is a thing. And it is just so bizarre to witness this kind of cultural Marxism. I know I use that phrase a lot, but that's the only thing that comes to my mind with some of these people. And a lot of them are tourists within the hobby, and a lot of them just don't even play, and they just kind of attack things they find problematic about it on repeat, over and over and over again. Oh my god, this world is inspired by China. This is cultural appropriation. No, it's fantasy. That's it. It's just fantasy. That's all it is. And I think people need to learn that you don't always need the real world reflected back at you in every piece of media you consume. It's like the people crying about diversity in Final Fantasy. I mean, seriously. It creates this kind of toxic space, and it creates this toxicity. And it also creates this very one-sided split down the middle. So where it has brought new people in and they've been amazing, it's definitely a 50-50 split on whether they've been brilliant or horrible, and that's the problem. I do wonder what's next now with the D&D 1 thing. I wonder how it will affect Critical Role. That's ultimately a thing that worries me a little, just because of the nature of Critical Role. Now that D&D, Hasbro, Wizards, whoever want to monetize everything, and they're obviously merch and all of this stuff, they want to cut, and it's sad that they do, because I think, and this is a rant, by the way, but it's going to strip back the cottage industry that's built around it, and it's a real shame. They just want a monopoly on the game, and they want to take money from other people, rather than actually doing what they should be doing and creating a good game, rather than Magic School Simulator with a prom. That was obviously very pandery towards the Tumblr crowd. You could tell by the art style, you could tell by the advertising, and a Magic School is a great setting for a lot of fiction. And I say this with a big capital B. It was very, let's go to class, let's do this, that. It wasn't about D&D, and it didn't feel like D&D. I watched live playthroughs of it, and I was like, oh, this is just garbage. And that's also another thing. I think the new set of people have weakened the product, because they're trying to... Hasbro and Wizards are desperately trying to create something that kind of panders to them and not the actual player base. Most people playing D&D want to find a tavern, go on an adventure, save a princess, a city, or a town, and kill a dragon. That's it. That's all. And it's a shame that the pandering is just ridiculous. There have been some homebrew DIY magic schools within D&D, which are amazing, and I can't link them because copyright, and I don't know what D&D the company is going to do with these videos. So we'll just see. So, as always, tell me what you think in the comments below. I've got some Rings of Power news coming up pretty soon. And like I said, all of my links and info are down there too. So, enjoy. And I will talk to you guys later.